The hype is building for Far Cry 6, guys, or at least the announcement that people are really hoping to see here very shortly. And with that, guys, I want to talk about the things that we want out of this game and out of, what we're, obviously we know very little at this point. We know that there was a whole list of different, locations that Ubisoft was asking the community what we would like to see, but there's a lot of things that we don't know at this point. So I'll have to kind of, obviously be keeping you guys updated and up to speed as further information comes out so we can break it down and we can really, come to a better understanding of what we're going to be dealing with here with Far Cry 6. But I'm going to give you guys everything that we want, okay? And when I say we, this really goes for no matter what the setting is, no matter where it's, where they're going to be placing it. It's going to be just general things that we want to see. When I say we, guys, talking about myself here, but I know some of you will share similar opinions. And those of you who don't, or even if you do share similar opinions, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. Far Cry 6, guys. This is a title, obviously it's going to be coming out most likely in 2021, potentially 2022 at this point. This is one of Ubisoft's biggest franchises. I mean, when we look at their biggest franchises, we're talking Rainbow Six, we're talking Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, right? And with that, I think that really, that holds some weight there. There's a fan base here, a large fan base based around Far Cry. And I thought that Far Cry 5 was great. I loved Far Cry 5. There were elements of it I didn't like, which I'll get to here in a moment, that I want to see changed in Far Cry 6. But overall, I thought that the story and such was pretty good. And I am excited to see the direction that they decide to move in. I did not like Far Cry New Dawn nearly as much as Far Cry 5, but that being said, it was, a side story. It wasn't necessarily like a main story in the main, of course, narrative here. And so with Far Cry 6, I think number one is I want to be surprised with the location, with all of those different things. I think one of the elements that I love so much about Far Cry up to this point, guys, is that they've kind of changed up each game in certain ways. Now, a lot of times we'll play like in a jungle setting, right? We play in different settings that are based around like the jungle and the ocean and places like that, right? And so for me, I would like to see maybe some similarities where it still feels like Far Cry, but I would also like to see some differences, I'd like to see them maybe take some chances here in Far Cry 6 as well. I would not mind that whatsoever if they were to maybe take a few chances along the way in this game. There was talk that they would maybe do this one based in North Korea. I would be open to it. I would be open to some differences. I'd like some similarities, but I want, some differences as well. So really at the end of the day, I want them to surprise me. That leads me to the next thing, which is one of the biggest things that's talked about here in the Far Cry series, guys, is the villains, right? And, the main villains in these stories, right? And, the Seed family and, just all these different characters, right? There's a lot of different characters. And what I will say is this. I want them to obviously just keep evolving, right? Just keep on bringing us characters. I've liked all of them for all that they're worth and all their, everything that they kind of present to the story of Far Cry. I've enjoyed each of them for what they are, and I would just like to see an evolution of that, a continuation of that moving into Far Cry 6. So I don't have any specifics on, what I would like to see, what the character I would want him to be like. I just want him to be, just as crazy, just as insane as these other characters. Or maybe if you want to do it on the flip side, they don't seem crazy whatsoever, but they actually are. That would be an interesting take as well on on one of these, main villains in Far Cry 6. But what I'm getting at here, guys, is that I want there to be similarities, but I also want there to be differences within the course of Far Cry 6. You want to still have the same mechanics, the same type of gameplay. Maybe it evolves a little bit over time, new weaponry and things of that nature, but you mainly want to have similarities when it comes to the gameplay as well as the mechanics. Now, as far as the story's concerned, guys, one of the big things that really bothered me about Far Cry 5 wasn't so much that I didn't like the story. I really liked the story. But the problem was that as you're going through different regions, taking out, each member of the family of this evil empire, you have to do, it forces you at times to do side missions in order to move on to other main missions. And I'll tell you why that's a problem. I understand the reason for it behind why Ubisoft does that, because guess what? They started doing that in some of the Assassin's Creed titles as well, and that was a huge problem for me as well. Now, maybe some of you don't mind this, but for me, it really bothers me because as I'm starting to get into a story, no matter what it is, let's just say, we're talking about Far Cry now, so as the story's progressing and you're really enjoying it, you want to see what happens next. You kind of get pulled out of that by doing side missions or being forced to do side missions. I like doing side missions on my own time when I feel like doing them along the journey, right? Till it gets to the end, right? And if I don't get to some of those side missions, my first playthrough, I make sure to hit up all of them my second playthrough if I decide to play through it again if it's a really good story, which Far Cry 5 I thought was pretty good, but I did not like the concept of you're being pulled out of the story, forced out of the story to do side missions to get the extra points or whatever it was that was needed to move on, to take on each member of this crime family. And so that significantly bothered me that you had to do all these different side missions to get, to kind of fill that bar to take on each member of the family. But I would like to see them not do that here in Far Cry 6. I would like to see them, it's like, look, there's a narrative, there's side missions. I love the open world setting. Keep it like that. I would love to see them even elaborate on that a little bit, where there's more things to do along the journey. But I really want to see where you can just do this narrative. If you want to do it straight through, if you want to do some side missions along the way, or if you want to do all the side missions till you get to the end of the journey. I just really want there to be the option here where you as the player get to choose how you want to approach it. And I think that's really important. That leads me to the next thing, guys, which is, having a lot of customizable options and such, which I feel like they were able to do with Far Cry 5 to an extent, but I'd like to see an elaboration on that. I'd love to see that move over into multiplayer as well as co-op and such moving forward. Having a lot of customization and earnable items and such in games showing that, where you can show off to your friends and to other people across the world, whether it's in the multiplayer standpoint, whatever it might be, how much time you put into the game and what you've done within the game and within the world. I think that would be really cool as well. Having a lot of earnable items I think is important. And I'd love to see them continue elaborating on the multiplayer perspective, the PvP and such. I think it would be really cool to see that. I also think, look, guys, we've talked about, Battle Royale as a genre, and I think Far Cry would be something that could really be cool as a Battle Royale or have a Battle Royale mode in it. I don't know if they would do that, but at the same time, I think it would be interesting having, you're on an island or something and you're, all fighting within the Far Cry universe. I think it could be something special, but even if they decide not to go that direction, I would really like to just see more multiplayer modes, more co-op modes, and things of that nature that we can, continue connecting with the franchise as a whole. And I would even like to see the campaign even longer. I think that would be really cool. And this last one, guys, isn't so much a want. It's just more of something that would be interesting would be if Far Cry 6 were free to play, or at least some aspects of it would be free to play. We see so many AAA titles going free to play, guys, or at least aspects of them going free to play. I think Far Cry could, that fan base could continue to grow and grow in a major way if you had some elements of it that are, free to play, like the multiplayer side or whatever it might be. Those are things that really help franchises go to the next level in a major way, whether we're talking from a streaming perspective, having tons of content creators making content here on YouTube or on Twitch, wherever it might be. That's something that I would love to see as well. But Far Cry 6, guys, these are the things that I would like to see, and I will definitely keep it updated as we go, as we get closer to it and we get more information along the journey. But let me know, guys, what is it that you guys want to see in Far Cry 6? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Far Cry 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.